So apparently we have an issue with the live streaming label that we have to fix. Let me take care of that for a second. Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this edition of the call. In the past couple of weeks, it's been a lot of the things that we already talked about on the previous call. Among the most notable changes, we now have the ability to control the bit rate that the bridge is sending back to us deployed. We talked about this before, but we're going to be posting news on the website soon. So now you can say that you want to limit what you receive down to low definition or whatever. And so there's that. And I'm going to cut my update here and ask anyone from the team at Atlassian if you guys want to do any updates yourselves. And if not, I'm going to open the microphone. I see Saul and Brian. Everyone else has video muted. Do you guys want to share anything?
I've been, let's see, there were some bugs with some of the simulcast refactoring that got fixed.
Oh, right. And also you fixed the stun transaction problem with Edge and the WebSocket issue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There was a WebSocket bug which was manifesting as people in the call. None of the data channel or bridge channel messages would go, so that was breaking, pinning, and a bunch of things. So that's now fixed. And then there was an issue with Edge. ICE connecting would fail some amount of the time, some percentage of the time, and that's fixed. I'm going to do some more work here about looking at the final blockers to see what's preventing Edge from joining. So I'll probably spend some time on that this week. And then
thank you very much for that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, thanks for spending the time on Edge. We should be making an announcement that we officially support it in the near future. So thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can say something. I worked mostly
I hope you can, so because you're 30 plus years old, so it's about time.
Yeah, so I worked mostly on bugs related to the SDK. So loading, configuration, caching, that's what I've been doing, for example, today. Interesting developments in this area are that, for instance, last week, Matrix / the Jitsi integration on their system. And they are also working on integrating our SDK on their mobile app. So that's pretty cool to know. And also in some other community-related aspects, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, some users launched the unofficial Jitsi users community in Spanish. It's in Google Groups, and well, being Spaniard as I am, I joined. And there's some discussion happening there, and I'm already grabbing some things I want to do about what I learned there, such as some things. There's this perception that some of the features that we have enabled in Jitsi might not be available to everybody. So, but they are. It's just that you need to enable them. So, gotta work on some documentation.
Yeah, and refresh me. Did we already turn up peer-to-peer for one-to-one by default? Do you know?
Yes, it is. The problem is that it's not very easy to. Right now, it's not very easy to set up a turn server Well, it wasn't. I asked George, who worked on it, to document it, and cheers, George, because he did. So now we do have some documentation so that people can deploy their own turn servers, so that peer-to-peer would always succeed for one-on-one. So there's that.
So speaking of turn servers, there was a request from Matrix. They basically weren't sure about what the support of sending menu through TCP over HTTP Connect is in the different browsers, and how it compares to turn TCP. So that's something we might try and look into in the next couple of weeks, because apparently they're encountering some of that. Right. There will be a new release of Meet Jitsi today or tomorrow, which is going to bring back hoverability for most of the icons here, as opposed to having to click on them in order to open them, in case you noticed. And we should get dark theme. I'm not sure if it's going to be with this update or the one after, but probably in the next couple of weeks, we should get back to dark themed. Like if you go to code quality or the menus or the stats are currently white themed, we're going to bring them to dark theme again. Right, I think that's about it. So I'm going to open the microphone now. Any questions or comments from the community?
Oh, the little hand symbol doesn't work anymore, I think.
What doesn't work?
Well, it does now. I was raising my hand and it didn't pick up immediately, but I tried it again and then it worked.
Yeah, sometimes there's a focus issue. I'm not sure what it is exactly.
I wanted to be nice and raise my hand before speaking, but yeah. Then I went ahead.
That failed. You weren't nice.
So speaking of, about not being nice, I've emailed you twice in the last couple of weeks and I didn't get a response.
Well, that's why we have the call, so that you can...
it's a short email on a talk. I wanted to ping you off the call on that. It's probably something...
Me?
Yeah, you.
You send it where?
I send it by email. I know, somewhat old-fashioned.
Yeah, it's just my handling of email is pretty abysmal. I'm sorry, Gus. Would you like to talk about it now, or should I just answer your email after the call?
If you could look at your email, I really don't think we should talk about bother all of the others in this call with it.
I will do that. Let me take
Thanks. So I'm while working on my continued quest to see if it's possible to reduce the amount of client connections by some way. I came across a question which I'm going to ask and which is going to sound perhaps judgmental, and I don't mean it in that way whatsoever. So with that into account, I've been looking at the code. I've been asking myself, what is the development perspective of creating the Jitsi stuff? So is it, are you guys building a open source product that is intended to be very versatile and usable in many different ways and designed to be built upon by third-party developers? Or are you guys more leaning towards developing a application suite that serves your instances that you run yourself, or anywhere in the middle? Do I make that question? Is that a clear question to you guys?
No, that sounds way too abstract to me. I understand the words, but I'm not sure what they translate.
On what I'm an open source developer myself, and I built something without even running it myself. So what I build is designed to run on a variety of platforms, and I try to make it easier. That's my primary focus, to make it easier for others to install stuff and to build stuff on top of it. If I'm successful in that, that's a whole different question, but that's my that's my primary perspective on building that piece of software. And having that perspective, that's how I initially approached the most of the Jitsi code that I saw. But I'm also noticing that there are a couple of choices that are made and that are pretty specific to either your personal instance that you want to run, which it needs to be very high scalable, very specific to a particular goal, and maybe not as easy to install in a very broad spectrum. Is that somewhat more specific?
It's a little bit better. I'm still not sure whether I fully understand, but here's what's sort of resonating already. It's I wouldn't say so. Yes, the fact that we're doing this open source as opposed to just developing within Atlassian is because we want it to solve other people's problems. We do not, however, want it to solve every possible problem. So we have made choices about problems that we're solving. And if other people have the same problems, we hope it would solve them for them as well. And if they don't, then you have to make choices. You have to have focus. But this is all way too abstract. If you can talk about specific things, then it would be easier to say, yes, we consider this to be a problem that we don't want to solve, or actually we do want to solve that problem, so let's go and see why it's not working for you. So can you...
the direct cause for my... and by the way, I'm fine with both approaches, right? It's if you build something that is primarily geared towards running your own services, that's completely fine. And I'm not trying to be judgmental, but
I don't like that formulation because it's not primarily geared to running our own services.
Okay, no, but that's fine as well.
That's not the case. If it were primarily geared to running our own services, we wouldn't be making it open source, because that doesn't help run our own services. It is primarily geared to solving a certain set of problems.
Okay.
Because we believe that if we try to solve more than that, we just lose focus and we cannot go forward.
I was describing two extremes of the spectrum, right? So the truth might be somewhere in the middle.
That's fine. I'm just trying to clarify our position.
Cool. So one of the most direct reasons for me to wonder is the choices made on component versus client, the stuff that I'm working on right now. Because one of the arguments that I heard was that it would be easier to run multiple components in a clustered setup, which obviously is true. But then again, I thought, okay, how many people would actually be doing that? And is that primarily to serve your own interest, or the interest of a couple of high volume customers, or is this something that should go in a broad open source project? And I'm still not saying that if you choose A, you should do X or the other way around. But I'm just wondering, what is the perspective here? And I think you're already answering quite a bit on that.
Well, let's say that what is not the goal here, so XMPP in this entire project is not a goal. And it used to be that XMPP was this toolbox, and there was value, in just generically implementing parts of XMPP, being generically compliant with XMPP. And that's not a goal here. XMPP, in this case, is just a tool that solves problems for us. So there's no debate around, is this the better XMPP approach? Because I personally do not, well, not me personally, but let's say that what we're offering here is a video conferencing server, not an XMPP component. And we believe that there are more people that are likely to want to run a highly scalable environment than people who would care about how Jitsi Video Bridge connects to an XMPP server. This is not a statement of judgment for the usefulness of components versus clients. That's not a debate that personally I'm interested in. There are arguments on both sides, but this summarizes it. I think more people are interested in high-scale environments than how Jitsi connects to XMPP servers.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent summarization, I think, and that gives me perspective on why you make choices and why what is the perspective behind design choices made. So
that's an excellent question, and I think it's mostly it's very much a philosophical one. I hope it's very much a pragmatical one as well.
Yeah, I simply want to know if I want to reach some goal, what way should I walk towards that goal that is most likely to be accepted by you guys? Absolutely.
Thank you for being so considerate. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that we're not completely carefree about what happens to people who actually want to run components. So we were actually having an argument a couple of weeks ago about once we make the bridge connect with client connections, would we remove the code that allows it to connect their components, which I expected we were doing. And actually on this call, Boris said, but no, maybe we're not going to remove that. And then he persuaded me, actually, we win nothing by removing the component connections. So we're going to keep that there because some people just find it more convenient to connect their server as a basic, namely you, actually.
Yeah. Well, I like that a lot, of course, but I was asking this in a somewhat abstract manner because I didn't want to let this question evolve into a XMPP pro or con question. I've got all kinds of opinions on that as well, of course, but it just helps me from a development perspective.
You should come to Austin so that we can have these discussions around peers as it is required.
I'd love to. I'm actually flying to the States in October for Google Summer of Code. So I don't know, is anyone from Atlassian?
Yeah, that's an excellent question for this call. I think Boris.
Oh, are you? I'll
be at the Mentor Summit. Yeah.
Yeah, I got accepted too, so I'll probably be there.
I think George too, and who else are we sending? Christo.
Yeah.
Christo, and then someone else.
I think George was accepted, and maybe Saul now said that he's accepted too.
And Boris for sure.
Cool. So we could hang out there then.
Well, you won't have my magnificent presence there, but I mean, life cannot be perfect.
You will be there in spirit. I'm sure of it.
Thanks for the question, Gus. I hope the answer wasn't disappointing. Thanks for the question, Gus. I hope the answer wasn't too disappointing.
No, not at all. No, this is exactly. I'd much rather have clarity in an answer that I might not fully hope for than not have clarity at all, because then I don't know what I'm what lay of the land is. So this was very helpful, actually. That said, I did have another question, but I totally forgot it. I should write these things down before joining this call. So that's it for me, unless I remember what I was going to ask next.
Sure. Anyone else? Thank you, Gus.
I actually hear me. I switched on microphones. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Badly, but yes. Hi, Ingo. How are you doing?
I'm just letting me switch back and someone else talks in the meanwhile.
Personally, I didn't understand that last bit.
No, I couldn't hear him either. I can hear that he's talking, but I'm not making out what he says.
Yeah, your microphone is scratching and it's not really understandable. Sorry.
Is that better now?
That is excellent.
Much
better. Good to hear you.
Okay, so most of you probably have been noticing that I've been working on the SMAC 4 branches, and thanks to Brian and I think Aaron, I've got my own instance now to test with, because I didn't succeed compiling the client stuff. So I was able to connect the bridge and Chikofo to it, and using my mobile phone and the browser, I succeeded in creating a call with SMAC4. So that's actually a great success now. I haven't tried Jigazi and the hammer yet, but yeah, I want to ask how we're going to proceed with that now.
So the hammer, I think, is actually already using SMAC4. But
yeah, more or less. It did use SMAC4, but it did use different classes that were all prefixed with new something.
Yes, I'm afraid that's my doing. But yes, so there might be some effort there, but hopefully it will be not as severe as maybe some of the other stuff.
No, well, actually, I managed to compile, but I didn't start yet. I removed all the new classes and replaced the new by nothing in the rest of the code, and that more or less compiled then. There were a few minor changes that were needed to be done, but yeah, it compiles.
Cool.
But I actually don't know how to run it.
I can help with that.
Yeah. Yeah, in general, how are we going to proceed? Should they create a pull request? And since there's a release today, it might actually be possible to merge that in a feasible timeline, or is there some general position that you want to wait until the next release, or yeah, just how are we going to proceed?
I personally got distracted. I'm not sure who that question was for. I was expecting Brian would take it, but if not, if my intervention is needed, I'd need the question repeated.
Well, the branches are, at least for the video bridge and for Chikofo and Jitsi desktop, I think the branches are in a state where I could create a pull request. There's certainly some work needed and stuff that I can't test, for example. But yeah, the basic question is, should I create pull requests now, or do you want to have a look at the branch before creating them? And yeah, just the general.
It doesn't hurt to create the pull requests in any way, because at least that's going to start to run the automated tests on them, and it's going to give us already that feedback.
I can guarantee you that the automated tests are going to fail because there's quite a bit of interdependencies. First of all, we need to merge or get the Jitsi desktop there, or actually the Jingle Notes plugin, then Jitsi desktop, then the video bridge, then Chikofo, and then the other components. So if I just create a pull request for the video bridge now, for example, it doesn't have the components or the classes necessary from Jitsi desktop. And so on.
If you name the branches the same, I think it'll pull all the pieces with the same branch name.
Okay.
We run into this.
Not really. Ingo is talking about we have some artifacts in Maven repo and they come from
But
Jitsi,
I thought,
so.
Okay, it won't pull these other things if the branches are the same like it does with like the Jitsi?
No.
Okay. Never mind
that. So first, so that's going to be more of an effort then. And if so, then I don't know if we'd be able to schedule that work this week, but maybe next week would be feasible. Damien, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I have some urgent tasks, and after that we can start with that. As Ingo proposed, maybe push a new stable to Jitsi components, because the one has some bugs and it's a pretty old one, and then start working on those.
So, okay, let's try to finish the release this week, do the stable release. Finish the update of Jitsi, do the stable release, so that next week we can start transitioning to the new branch.
Okay, so the first thing to do, and that doesn't affect anything in either case, would be then to publish the Jingle Notes API and maybe publish it on Maven Central. In any case, that's something I can do by myself. Then if you don't disagree, then I'll merge Jitsi Desktop, or maybe we can do a release there as well before pushing that out, because I'm sure there's also bugs left. I'd do that with Damien if he has the time for it. Then Jitsi Desktop would be ready because that's a component that's needed by everything else. And then we could start working on getting the meat stuff merged.
That sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
And since you're doing the stable release now of Meat, we agreed about 2 months ago, I think, to move to Java 8. So this would be a good time to replace the parent and switch to Java 8 there in general as well.
Also sounds good. Can anyone think of a reason not to?
No, we already switched Jitsi.
Cool.
Okay, so I'll prepare that stuff, create pull requests so you can have a look in any case, and then we'll see how to move forward. Just a warning though, in 2 weeks I'm away on holiday for a week, so I can't do anything there then.
Okay, thanks for the heads up. And thanks for all that work. Is there anyone else? No, then in that case, I'm going to close the call. Thank you everyone for joining, and see you again in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.